Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report I guess not, it's not post-game live stream, pre-game live stream. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and tonight I'm going to have a special guest on, and that special guest is backstage. Let me add him to the live stream. Where'd he go? Add Brandon, how you going?
What's up, Michael? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm looking forward to this game. It's interesting. I have to work this game, and I don't know if you've seen anything about the weather in Kansas City right now.
Yeah, like -11.
Cold as hell, man. It is -11 with a wind chill that brings it down to like -30 something. This is like the coldest weather it's been in Kansas City in like 30 something years. And of course, I have to be there at like 7 o'clock in the morning before the sun even comes up to start to get to work. But, I think that the weather will definitely play a factor in this game. But, as a Seahawks fan, what are you really expecting coming into this game, and how are you feeling ahead of this Week 16 matchup?
Well, I think we've hit rock bottom over the past couple weeks with the way we've been losing to the Raiders, the Panthers, the 49ers. Just some tough losses in there that have pushed us out of the playoff race for the most part. And, this is another tough game. Going into Kansas City, one of the toughest environments against one of the best offenses. And it's not going to be easy at all. And now with the weather, it's going to be even more difficult. So I'm not really that optimistic heading into it, but I think we have a shot. So
I definitely think you have a shot too. I mean, if you've seen how we played against the Broncos and the Texans, it would be foolish for anybody to say that the Seahawks don't have a shot. I kind of want to grab your opinion on this really quickly. Like, coming into this season, after trading away Russell Wilson, which, by the way, congrats, because you fleeced that trade.
Oh, yeah, number 3 pick. Yeah.
Which, that's awesome. So, did you have the expectation of playoffs this season, or were you kind of just like, Geno Smith's our starting quarterback, whatever happens, happens? But, I mean, I was not expecting the Seahawks to go, or at least be 7-7 at one point in the season.
Yeah.
So, would you say that you've kind of had a successful season so far?
No, I definitely think it has been successful, and not just off record, but off the emergence of our draft class and guys stepping in and stepping up. It's been huge in that regard.
Well, and you guys have like what, the second overall pick right now? Second or third? Like,
yeah, it's the third right now. Yeah.
That, I mean, who knows? That may be your next franchise quarterback. I mean, you never know, but I think that you guys did us all a favor by giving Russell Wilson to the Broncos, because he has been, for all intents and purposes, a disaster. But, I was kind of looking at some of the stats coming into this game. The Seahawks, just by the numbers, appear to have a little bit of an issue stopping the run. They've been giving up 1.1 yards per game. And I think with how cold it's going to be in this game, I think they're going to run the ball a lot more, which, I mean, is kind of counterintuitive when you have Patrick Mahomes. But I think the weather really is going to play a factor in this game. So I think they might run the ball against the Seahawks defense.
I think you guys do have a good 1-2 punch with Pacheco and McKinnon. I think McKinnon is one of the better stories as of this past couple years with you guys. I think he's emerged well. Like, his true potential was in Minnesota and San Francisco. And I think Isaiah Pacheco, he's came on really well for you guys.
He's been rushing really well.
Yeah, and just with the way our defense has been playing, they did stop the run a little bit better against the Niners. Like, they let the Raiders and the Panthers run on them and the Rams, but they kind of stepped up against the Niners, and they were in the game throughout most of the game against the Niners, and that's another really good team. So the defense is going to have to play well again. And if the offense can just keep it up how they've been playing through most of the season. And going back to your question with how I've seen this team play and what the expectations were, I thought we'd be in the 7-9 win area. I thought Geno was going to keep us afloat, and and he's been doing that. But I just think if we had a few games go our way, we'd be comfortable in the 7 or the 6 seed right now. But I think you guys are going to run the ball a lot tomorrow, just like you said, with the weather and with the way our defense has been playing. So I think that, and Seattle also wants to run the ball too. That's been Carroll's identity throughout his time here. And Ken Walker's came on really well too. So that's another bright spot too.
When our defense isn't great at stopping the run, I mean, we're giving up 105 yards a game. I think that the reason that I really am kind of concerned about the Seahawks, and I think that it's because, we've kind of scraped by against Russell Wilson and against Davis Mills,
Yeah.
and those games have been way closer than they should have been. And I think that the Seahawks are a better overall team than anybody we've faced in the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
And so if you leave them in a game, they can beat you. Like the Texans might not be able to actually beat you, and the Broncos might not be able to actually beat you, but I think the Seahawks can. And so it's really going to be interesting to see which Chiefs team we see tomorrow, because, I mean, I don't know what an outsider's perspective is, but really since that 49ers game, it kind of feels like the Chiefs have been like steadily declining. Now they're still great, but
Yeah.
starting to see like some of those weaknesses, like turning the ball over and missing extra points and field goals. It's kind of starting to bite them in the ass. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I mean, this Chiefs team is really not playing very good football right now.
No, and I've watched, because you guys get all the nationally televised games for the most part, whether it's the 325 spot or the prime time. So I see a good enough of what you guys do. And I think you guys have a very versatile skill set of offensive weapons, whether it's Sky Moore, Scantling, Kelsey, easily the best tight end. And you guys have the best quarterback in football too. So, it's definitely, it seems like you guys get up on these teams, whether it's the Texans or the Broncos, and then, you just kind of slowly fall apart. And, if you guys do that against us with the way our defense has been playing, I don't know, you might be able to hold the lead, because that's what the Niners did last week. Once the second half hit, quick scores, they got up, and we really couldn't respond. So, and this is a completely different offense too that we're playing this week than the past ones, and we've struggled against those. So I don't really know how tomorrow's going to go. It's definitely going to be interesting.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Chiefs currently have like a -6 turnover differential. They've turned the ball over in like 7 of 9 games. So if you're going to get 3 extra possessions in tomorrow's game, anybody has a shot. And I don't think your offense is bad enough to blow those chances like the Texans did.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
If you get those opportunities, I think you're going to have a much better shot of punching those in. And we have like weird turnovers. We have turnovers at like the goal line and in situations where we could cash in, but we don't. And like big momentum shifters. And I think Geno Smith's been a great story. And I think he's been a much better quarterback than a lot of people expected. And he's somebody that I wouldn't feel comfortable if he had a 2 or 3 touchdown lead.
No, and I'll tell you what too. You would have told me week 1 or at the start of the season that Geno Smith was going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. I don't know what I've told you. So I think that's definitely, he has been a great story the way he's led this team. And I just think tomorrow, obviously we don't have Lockett, so we're probably gonna see DK get the ball more. Probably Noah Fant, probably the tight ends getting involved. Obviously running the ball with Walker, but I just think someone in the receiving room is going to have to step up tomorrow, whether it's Goodwin, Marquise Goodwin, Laquan Treadwell, who we picked up. He had a little glimpse in a few games, but Laquan Treadwell's kind of been an interesting story throughout his time in the league. And, there's just other guys that can possibly step up, D. Eskridge, but I think tomorrow is going to lean more on the tight ends with Lockett out and obviously running the ball. But special teams, too, is going to play a big part with the weather tomorrow as well.
See, I really am curious to see. I mean, there's not really much snow on the ground. There might be 1 or 2 inches. It's kind of windy, so that
it's just going to be cold.
That, and I think the wind could play a little bit of a factor. So I don't know if teams are going to be throwing the ball. But I remember a couple of years ago, the Chiefs played the Broncos at home, and there was like probably 10 inches of snow, and Mahomes was throwing it fine. But I don't know if that's changed or if they're not going to rely on him as much, because in the second half of that Texans game, they just gave it to Pacheco a lot more.
Yeah.
And he had a really good game. So it's just kind of like, do you want to rely on your running backs, or do you want to, I mean, not that this is a bad thing, but kind of pad Mahomes' stats so we can get that MVP?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying too. And your guys' offense is just so versatile where you can do that. You have two good running backs. You guys have solid weapons. You guys have a balanced offense. So you guys can really do whatever you feel, whatever you want to do, whether regardless of climate, weather, etc. So I think it's gonna be a really good game tomorrow. Just whether it goes whose way, that's because I like I said, I think we have a shot. And the way you guys played against Houston, I think gave me a little more confidence, just the way how these teams have been playing you guys. They've been in the game close, late. And as long as Seattle's down by one possession in the fourth quarter, that's all you can ask because they're going to have a chance to win the game. And
Good.
That's going to be the big thing.
I have a weird feeling that Seattle's actually going to be up tomorrow. I think it's going to be like Seattle jumps out to like a 14-3 lead, and they might end up tacking on another touchdown before half, and the Chiefs kind of have to crawl back in it because they just really struggled to score in the first half and just kind of get things going. And it's really going to come down to like the turnovers. Like, are we giving the Seahawks offense two more chances to punch the ball in? And I don't know how your red zone offense is, but I'm looking at your points per game. I mean, it's not that far off from the Chiefs. And there was very big discrepancies between the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Chiefs and the Texans. So that's why I'm like, okay, well, if you let the Seahawks hang in there, they're good enough to beat you. And I really think that the Chiefs have kind of just been sleepwalking through the back half of this season. And the Seahawks might be that wake-up call. Like, I think the Chiefs are a better team, but the Seahawks aren't a joke. And I still think that you guys could make the playoffs as like a 6 or a 7 seed.
Oh, it's definitely open. Yeah.
Aren't the Lions still in it too?
Yeah. Well, we have the tiebreaker head-to-head over the Lions. So I think we got to win because the Lions play the Panthers this week. So the wild card race is really going down to the wire.
I mean, teams that are motivated because both these teams are fighting for something. The Chiefs are trying to get that 1 seed, which maybe the Bears will take down the Bills for us. I think the Bills are going to win out personally. I don't see them losing. And
the way the Jets have been playing in New England. Yeah.
And I mean, maybe Cincinnati, maybe.
Oh yeah. They do play Cincinnati. Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think it's basically the Bills to lose at this point. But I think that this could go very south for the Chiefs. And I really hope that it's not the same problems that we've been seeing week after week that finally come back to bite them in the ass. Because, like, we've seen them make some dumb mistakes, and they've kind of been able to escape it just because they're better. But I don't think that the difference, if you do give them 2 or 3 more possessions, I don't think that difference is as big as some of the other teams we've faced.
No, and I'll tell you what, though, too. You talk about the turnovers. I've seen a stat throughout some of our games this season. The Seahawks have turned the ball over in every game. So that's going to have to stop tomorrow because you can't be giving Mahomes more drives, more possessions. And like you were saying with Geno, you can't give him more opportunities with the weapons we have too. I know we're out Lockett, but we still have guys that can step up in more ways than one. So,
and who knows, maybe in the cold, this could be like a sloppy game. There might be both these teams might have multiple turnovers, and it's just kind of an ugly affair. And
maybe a muff punt or something.
I mean, Sky Moore's muffin punts when the weather's fine. So I could only imagine what this kind of weather would do to him. But I mean, I think that the key for the game for the Chiefs is they're just going to have to take care of the football and kind of whatever they want to do in this game, establish that identity early. And you can't fall behind. Like I really do see the Seahawks getting up in this game. I wish I could say differently, but the Chiefs, just for whatever reason, let other teams play up to the level of them, and they play down to competition. And I don't think that's going to change in this game. What is the spread for this game?
It's last time I checked, it was Chiefs -10.
It is, and I expect the Seahawks to cover. It's gonna be really close, but it could also be like a low scoring affair, because I really don't. I don't think our offense played great last week, and our defense didn't either. And I think it's a lot more even than a lot of people are thinking.
Yeah, no, I was a little shocked too at the number. Because, I mean, then again, it is in Kansas City and tough crowd, tough environment, tough weather. So I can definitely see why it would be at 10. But I just think this team is fighting for something right now, and they got to win to really keep in it right now because the way the Lions have been playing. And the Commanders do play the 49ers and the Giants play the Vikings. So those are both tough matchups for them. So that should give us a little bit of help, but we got to win regardless. So
yeah,
a lot on the line for both teams. Like you said, with you guys trying to get the 1 seed and, we're just trying to get in. So,
and I mean, I would say that right now you're playing for more. Like we've secured our playoff spot. We won the division last week. That's secured. It's just right now we're trying to obviously get that 1 seed and home field advantage throughout the playoffs, but it's going to be tough. I really see this game being a slugfest from the very beginning. Honestly, I have to be there at like 7 a.m. to start the pregame stuff. I probably won't stay. And that's something that like I wouldn't normally do. It is going to be so cold, man. Like it is good. I might, you know what I might do? I might watch the game like for the first half. And then once it's halftime, depending on like how good the game is, I might just say, you know what? My body needs to go back to the heat because it's going to be bad.
yeah.
It is going to be bad. But, you kind of talked about the expectations coming into the season and how you feel like the Seahawks have done a good job of at least hitting those expectations. But how would a playoff berth feel if, you were able to clinch that? Probably not this week, but in the next couple weeks with all that has happened throughout the offseason. And
yeah,
I mean, kind of like the Chiefs. I mean, people thought the Seahawks were going to be the worst team in the league. And a lot of people expected the Chiefs to miss the playoffs and not
fall
have
off,
a good season. And both these teams have kind of defied the odds to a certain extent. So, like, what is the reaction to that?
I think a playoff berth would really, it would just prove the media and, everyone was doubting Carroll without Russell and the whole system and talent in general. But Carroll has developed this draft class, and John Schneider, they drafted the guys to come in and make an impact. And boy, they have. I mean, right on a cusp of a playoff berth without Russell Wilson, a guy who's probably carried this franchise throughout the past couple of years. And it's huge if that would happen, just from all the stuff I've heard all offseason from outside fans and the media and outside perspective saying we'd be picking top 10 and, or top 5 and, sitting at 4 wins. Like, this is actually really good that we're in this spot. And, listen, if we don't make the playoffs, it's going to be tough because we were there. We started out good, but nobody expected us to be in the race in week 15. So that's great alone, but I just want them to finish it off and get in with a chance, because once you get in, anything can happen. So.
Oh yeah, and I mean, luckily for you, you are picking top 5, but not with your pick. So it's kind of
exactly. Yeah.
But I'm looking at ESPN right now. ESPN has a matchup predictor of the Chiefs winning this game 87.2% to Seattle's 12.7%. I think that's way too lopsided. It's gonna, if anything, right now it's like 60-40. I really don't think highly of this Chiefs team right now, and I think they can improve, but I mean, Brandon, you've seen the Seahawks go deep into the playoffs and win a Super Bowl, and you could probably say firsthand that towards the end of the season, your football team is playing their best football, and they're going into the playoffs with some momentum.
Yeah.
And I saw it in 2019. The Chiefs, I don't think after it was the Titans game, they didn't lose the rest of the season, and they looked really good all throughout the rest of the season and into the playoff. But right now, this Chiefs team just kind of feels like they're stumbling through the season. And yeah, I mean, they're winning games, but they don't look like the Chiefs team that we've seen for so long. And I still think that they could go to the Super Bowl and they could beat anybody. But just with the way that they've played recently, I don't think that this model is replicable for success in the playoffs.
No, and it's kind of how these teams respond to a wake-up call late in the season. Like, you look at how Cincinnati just carried their momentum through last year. And, there's teams like Jacksonville, Detroit this year that have carried the momentum through. And you look at the Titans, when that wake-up call happened to the Titans, they didn't respond. So it's all about responding to what the adversity is late in the season. Some teams can handle it and run with it, and some teams can't. So, it's interesting. It really is to see all these teams having big runs late in the season. Like, who the hell would have thought Jacksonville, with the way the Titans were playing? I mean, it's insane that Jacksonville can get into the playoffs with a first year, or Doug Peterson being his first year in that system, and it's crazy. So it's all about runs and momentum in this league. It really is. It's who's hot at the right time.
Yeah, and I mean, even back in 2017 when the Jags got there, it was kind of because they were on this hot streak. And I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
The Chiefs didn't go into the playoffs last year on the greatest of notes. I mean, they struggled to beat a Broncos team that wasn't any good, and they kind of fixed it in the first round when they played the Steelers and beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, but ultimately they lost like 2 weeks later because they just couldn't take down the Bengals. So it's just like some of the issues that you see during the season and you just kind of laugh them off like, oh, they'll fix that. They ultimately come back to bite you. And that's what I'm kind of concerned about. So in this game, I want to see them at least address a couple of those issues. I think that given the weather and the circumstance, if they could hold Seattle to, I mean, you're averaging 25 points. I think if you could hold them to like 21 points, that would be a big success. And I mean, offensively, I'm not expecting you to drop 40 because I think the Seahawks defense,
Oh God, no.
The Seahawks defense is better than that. I don't see that. But if you can drop at least 28, I mean, that's 1 point less than your average for the season. I think 28 points given the weather, and if Mahomes can have a good bounce back, I think that's going to be a win.
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying there. And, this defense isn't built to get into shootouts. Like, it was in the Raiders game when we played the Raiders. They won in overtime. It was, 40-34. I mean, this defense really can't handle shootouts, though, and especially with a guy like Mahomes. It's going to be tough either way. But I think the secondary has been playing strong enough where if the Chiefs run the ball, you still can't stack the box, but you can at least plan on the run and adjust and later in the game. But I think the run defense is going to be huge because, like you said, in the elements, and it's one of the focus that this team needs to improve on if they want to beat the Jets and the Rams in these next couple weeks and get into the playoffs. So it's definitely a statement game for both teams in a sense. It kind of is.
It is because both teams have so much to prove, and
yeah,
I think
play for.
There's definitely time. There's enough time to fix your stuff, but time is running out, and you might not have. I mean, you got the Jets, and who knows who the Jets are going to be playing at quarterback. But I mean, you've got some teams after this that I think are much more favorable matchups for you. You could lose this game and still have a shot at the playoffs because you had that tiebreaker against the Lions. So that's still possible. I think that even if we lost this game but played better football visually, I wouldn't necessarily have as big of a problem. Now, I say that if the Bills end up losing to the Bears, I'm going to kill myself. But if the Bills do what I expect them to do and win out, this 1 seed's already a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
I just want to see the Chiefs improve because ultimately, I mean, we've got that playoff spot locked up. It's just about getting there, staying healthy, and fixing those mistakes that have costed you games in the past. So if they can do that, I don't think they'd lose this game. But on the off chance that they did, I would still take a lot out of this game, even if it was a loss.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely agree there.
Let's see. I'm going to look at the NFC because I haven't looked at the NFC or AFC playoff.
Oh, it's really tight in the NFC. I mean, if Dallas loses tomorrow and the Giants somehow pull off a win.
Well, doesn't Dallas play the Eagles without Jalen? I think that's the case. Okay, let's see. The AFC, the Bills are the 1 seed, Chiefs are the 2 seed, Bengals are the 3 seed. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. If the Chiefs lose tomorrow and the Bengals win, the Bengals have that tiebreaker, so we drop down to what, the 3 seed? Titans have the 4 seed, Ravens have the 5 seed, Chargers have the 6 seed, and the Dolphins have the 7 seed. Man, the AFC play, like outside of the top 3 teams, I don't think anybody is really going to get out of the AFC besides like the Chiefs, Bills, or Bengals. But the NFC, you got the Eagles at the 1 seed, the Vikings at the 2 seed, Niners at the 3 seed, Cowboys at the 5 seed. The Bucks are in the hunt, but they're currently the 4 seed. How is that even possible? Oh yeah, because they're 6 and 8. the Giants are the 6th seed, and the Commanders are the 7th seed. You guys are on the bubble looking in at the 8th seed.
Yep.
So ideally, did you beat Washington?
We didn't play Washington this year.
Okay. I don't know what, for some reason I thought they were in the division for you.
We beat the Giants.
Okay.
So, I mean, if the Giants do have a tough schedule, they play the Colts. I'm not saying Colts is a tough game, but that's a game where go either way, and then they play the Eagles. So they're probably going to lose to Minnesota, and then they're probably going to lose to the Eagles. So unless they're resting starters, so I don't know. I mean, the Commanders and Giants do have tough schedules. So, and the Lions got to play the Packers again, and the Bears. So I mean, Lions have a favorable schedule, but yeah.
I mean, now that I'm looking at it, you can, not saying that you will, but like you can lose tomorrow, run the table, and still get in.
Yeah, still have a shot. Yeah, just because the Commanders are probably going to lose, and hopefully the Giants lose. So yeah, there still is hope, regardless of tomorrow's result. It's just getting slimmer and slimmer.
I'll tell you what, though, if you win tomorrow and Washington and New York loses,
a lot of momentum
and a lot of different shakeups in the seedings, that would be really good for Seahawks fans.
That would be, yeah.
Really quickly, I kind of want to get your thoughts on the MVP race. Who's your MVP right now?
Oh, you know, I think Hurts is gonna get it, but I still think, it is tough. But I would say Hurts, because just how nobody expected that team to play this season and the record they have, and I just think what Hurts is doing, they're gonna give it to him because of how Mahomes has gotten it and the way he's been playing his whole career. And this is just Hurts' first time really popping off. And I mean, they're 13-1. It's kind of insane with what the Eagles have done. So, it's probably going to be Hurts, but I mean, one of the quarterbacks in the AFC is probably playing better, but I think they're going to give it to Hurts just based off the narrative and what's been happening so far.
I think there's two candidates. I think it's Mahomes and Hurts.
Yeah.
I think that they're very close, and the reason that I think Mahomes is going to end up winning it is because Hurts is hurt right now.
That's true. Yeah.
Unless he comes back next week, which 1 week's not really going to hurt you in the long run, but I've seen stuff that he's going to be out for the rest of the season. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to come back, but I mean, if Mahomes can kind of use this 1 game buffer as a chance to rack up 4 touchdowns and another 100-yard passing game, he's at a point where he has to make the stats so like jaw-droppingly different.
Yeah.
I mean, they're absurd right now, but I think he's got to get even more separation because I mean, you watch the NBA. It's almost like Mahomes has like voter fatigue. Like you see LeBron and you see Jordan dominate the league for so long, and I feel like they kind of have that like same mentality with Mahomes because I mean, the dude's playing out of his mind without Tyreek Hill, without all of these things, and he's on pace to break the passing yard record and throw like 45 something touchdowns.
Yeah. No, and like I said, it's based off narrative, and you see Mahomes and LeBron and them just dominating the league in their position for so many years. People just kind of want to give it to the up and coming guy that have really come on this year. So, like you said, if Mahomes comes out 4 touchdowns tomorrow, has a big statement game of his own, then it does flip it, obviously, with Hurts being out. So, yeah, Mahomes is going to have one of those games down, maybe multiple of them down the stretch, these last few games. So, yeah.
But I will say, I like Jalen Hurts a lot. And if he did end up winning it, I really wouldn't have any problem with it because, like, I remember a couple of my friends were like, yeah, he's like a really good placeholder quarterback for their next guy. And I was like, dude, I think this guy can play. And he's really been the story of the season. And
yeah,
that Eagles team picked what, top 10 last year?
Yeah. Was it top 12 maybe? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably around there. Yeah.
I think maybe they had a higher pick and they traded down, but right now they're the best team in football. So, and he's a big reason why they're so good. So I really don't have a problem if Jalen Hurts wins it. But I think that if you look at the stats, and if it was just purely based on statistics and who's been better and most valuable, I think Mahomes would have a better case. But it's hard when you've been dominant for so long and good for so long, because
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of seen him do this year after year. So he's going to have to kind of raise the bar.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's what it honestly is going to come down to, because Jalen Hurts has just built such a big narrative and such a big case for him and the way he's dominated so far. And it's, listen, if Gardner Minshew goes in there, beats Dallas, then, I don't know, maybe it is the system, maybe it is, I don't know what it is, but it would definitely be something too if Gardner went in there and won. But Mahomes is obviously going to have to play out of his mind to switch that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get out of here, do you have any keys to the game for the Seahawks?
No, I think the key to the game is to play solid special teams. And because running the ball tomorrow is going to be so big, they just have to stop the run, I think. And they're going to have to get more guys involved offensively. So I think the biggest key is stopping the run. That's what I would put it on as.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really agree with the special teams aspect. Our special teams unit has been horrible this year, and they've had problems with Harrison Butker kicking field goals and extra points and returning punts and kicks and all of that sort of stuff. So if our special teams unit can be better tomorrow, I think that we'd be in much better shape. But for the Chiefs, I just think that they have to not get behind early. They have to mix up both the passing game and the running game. But I almost want to see more out of our defense tomorrow. I want to see our defense, really kind of confuse Geno Smith, make it difficult on him. And I would like to see a much better defensive attack against a fighting team in the NFC that's trying to make the playoffs. So I think if the Chiefs can do that, they'll probably win this game. But overall, it's not going to be easy. It's probably going to come down to the wire, and it's probably going to be a 5 to 7 point game if it's not less. So I think it's going to be a really good football game. And Brandon, I really enjoyed having this conversation with you tonight and kind of talking about both teams, because I think that both teams really have great aspects to them, but they also don't have great aspects to them.
Big flaws.
Yeah, big flaws for sure. So, Brandon, before we get out of here, do you want to plug your socials or anything to the fans?
No, I just appreciate you letting me come on and talk to you. I mean, coming into the season, when I looked at the schedule we play guys, I was like, ooh, getting in a conversation with you on live stream, that would be great. So glad this worked out for sure.
I am too. So if you guys don't mind, go ahead and subscribe to Brandon Rogers. You can find him on YouTube. I'll go ahead and link his stuff in the description.
Appreciate you.
You can follow me on Instagram. That's KC_Sports Report, and Twitter is @KC Sports Report. Check out the website. That's KCSportsReport.com. I'll probably go live tomorrow following this game to break down either a win or a loss. I'm probably going to leave. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if I can take that cold. But if you see me freezing at Arrowhead, just know that I stuck it out. So until tomorrow, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.